What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs, bringing you a brand new video. Today's video is going over the 3-game Week 3 slate for XFL. So this one is going to be a little interesting. As we saw last night, very close game. I don't know how Seattle pulled it out, but they did pull it out. Both my bets on Seattle and the over. The over really hit pretty easy, but Seattle -3 is what I got it at. Was a very big sweat there towards the end, I'll tell you that, but it was a great game. And we have some very close games today as well. We have St. Louis at DC, two undefeated teams in their division. Orlando and Arlington. Orlando trying to show they're not the worst team in the league. Arlington going with the quarterback change here. And then two of the stronger defenses and stronger offenses in the league so far in San Antonio and Houston. Houston at home again. So let's kind of break it down position by position almost. The wide receiver and tight end is kind of mixed in. But let's go position by position. So quarterbacks, I'm not going to go with A.J. McCarron against DC here, being the most expensive quarterback. I like A.J. McCarron. I will continue to say this. I hope he has success. He just doesn't have enough weapons really to shine as much as we'd all like him to. He's still playing really good football right now, and his running back is hurt, and their run game has not looked good without Hill. DC's secondary is a very good secondary. I'm interested to see of how they look this weekend. But I'm just not confident with what A.J. McCarron has that he's going to be efficient enough in this matchup with some other quarterbacks at other prices. Now, Brandon Silver's here against San Antonio. We kind of look at his numbers. They've been pretty consistent there. 2 picks against Orlando in week 1, none against Arlington last week, but around 16 fantasy points in both games. So I do like Silvers here, even though he is playing San Antonio. I just am not fully in love with San Antonio's offense. Jordan Ta'amu at 9,400 against St. Louis. It's yet again, I cannot go with a DC quarterback. If we knew that one was going to start and one was going to play the entire game, then yes, I'd probably be more confident in taking them. Jordan Ta'amu, last week we saw, couldn't really get things going. Has not in the passing game. Derek King really hasn't, passed the ball at all. But he's been efficient on the ground, and he's got that offense and momentum. Their run game is really good in that second half against Vegas. Jordan Ta'amu, we could look, he's not bad at running the ball either, but passing the ball, just not where you want it to be for a starting quarterback. Not to mention the very, very lackluster wide receiver group they have in DC. I really like DC's run game this week, but passing game, I'm going to pass there. Jack Cohen going against Houston. I like Jack Cohen. Yet again, kind of another thing, doesn't have a whole lot of support around him in the wide receiver room. I like the run game, but going against Houston at Houston, it's going to be a very good game, but I'm not going to go with Cohen. Drew Plitt is the surprise, so he is not starting. We're going to go down to 6K Kyle Slaughter. And he's either going to slaughter the other team or he's going to slaughter his team. That is the word on the street about him. And at 6K, I am definitely okay paying 6K for a quarterback. Now, don't get me wrong, with the way that the prices are so far in XFL DFS, you can easily afford almost anybody that you want. You don't need to pay down for Kyle Slaughter, but you do get a huge discount if you do want to pay up at every other position. For someone like Kyle Slaughter here at 6K going against Orlando's secondary, which, we saw against Silvers, got 2 picks. But overall, played San Antonio and Houston, both strong offenses there. So it's really hard to judge Orlando's defense, but at 6K, there's not much you can really go wrong there compared to some of the other prices. Paxton Lynch, I'd love to be committed to him. I really hope they got something going. Obviously, the quarterback controversy there in Orlando is unfortunate, not only for the team, but for the league itself. That's a very unfortunate situation going on there. But I can't really trust him as well. Francois, 6,900. is probably the other guy that goes in. Quentin Dormday, as you can see, gone. So, well, they don't have him gone yet, but he's gone. So Frank Kois is going to be the guy that can compete with Paxton Lynch. Although I think they go Paxton Lynch. I'm just not confident in the coaching decision to keep him. So quarterbacks pretty much that I have is between Brandon Silvers down here, or up there at 9,500, and then Kyle Slaughter down there at 6K. Those are my two quarterbacks I'm targeting. Running backs, Max Borghi is emerging as one of the better running backs in the league. Ellison's performance last night, if you guys were able to watch a game, you saw it. If you weren't, I would just go back and watch Ellison run the ball. He ran it really well. A lot of broken tackles, a lot of fighting for extra yards. He looked really good. And we have some other good running backs on the slate. Max Borghi here at 9,000 is one of those guys. Definitely a dual threat running back, being able to catch the ball and run the ball for his team. Not a lot of running backs are in that position. It's either one or the other. Abraham Smith for DC. I like both Abraham Smith and Armstead. Armstead obviously at 4,400, so you get a huge discount for guys that are pretty close in total fantasy points, stat-wise and all that. You could look 88 rushing yards, 14 receiving, 1 reception. We go look at Abraham Smith, 99 rushing yards, 1 reception for 15 yards. So the numbers aren't too far off. Their carries are pretty similar as well. So definitely paying down for someone like Armstead, I would not be against it. But I would lean towards Abraham Smith. Kalen Ballage, another guy at 8K. I just against that Houston rush defense, which I kind of have basically stats for myself that I could go back and just see. And you're seeing Houston having that number 2 rush defense. Yet again, their opponents have made it a little easier. But we know San Antonio is going to try to run the ball, and if they do, Kalen Ballage is one of those guys. At 8K, I'm not really sold on him yet. I think there's some other options here. One of them's right below him. Jermaine Martin, 7,800 against Arlington. We've seen Arlington, as you can see here, the number 1 rush defense. But yet again, Jermaine Martin just seems, if you watched Orlando, seems like could be a guy at running back. Arlington's defense is not, it's what's carrying the team, but it's not anything to be scared of that we've seen so far. Keith Ford got waived this week, so he's no longer on the team, which means Devon Smith at 6,500 is a play. Going against Orlando, as you can see on here. Orlando, the kind of in the average as far as rushing yards allowed just in total, not the running backs or anything like that, and tied for first in most rushing touchdowns allowed. So Devon Smith, especially getting that receiver work as well, is definitely somebody that I like. Brian Hill against DC, I'd say if Brian Hill is healthy, yes, he's definitely a play for me. But if not, I don't like any other of the St. Louis running backs. That's pretty much it. And that's it for running backs. So the lowest I'm pretty much going is Armstead. The cheapest buy right now is Devon Smith at 6,500. So now we go to the wide receivers, tight ends. And to make this a little bit easier, we're just going to go team to team really quick just to get this through. And this also really covers the flex position because the flex only adds running back. So if you want to stack multiple running backs, that's the only difference. So for St. Louis, there's 2 guys that I'm targeting, and that is Hakeem Butler at 6,100 and Austin Proehl at 5,500. If I had to pick one, it'd be Austin Proehl. It seems like they have a really good connection, especially in those clutch situations, third downs, late in the game, stuff like that, even fourth downs. So Austin Proehl at 5,500 is the one guy that I'm targeting for DC. Hakeem Butler is not a bad play either. The DC, Lucky Jackson yet again at 4,100 is the only guy that I'm really targeting. We've seen some other guys get some work. Chris Blair being one of them. But as far as sort of consistency, like DC didn't pass the ball in the second half really, so it's hard to say. But Lucky Jackson at 4,100 is the guy for DC that I like. Orlando, Cody Latimer is pretty much it. He's emerging as one of the better pass catchers in the league, and his price is not showing for it. I mean, you look at his 2 weeks, he's one of the only few guys in the XFL to score over 10 fantasy points in both his games. Granted, he has a touchdown last week, but I mean, at the same time, we talked about the opponents. They faced San Antonio, they faced Houston, they faced two stronger defenses. Arlington's defense has been what has won them games, or kept them in games for how I talk about their team. The number 1 rush defense, but the number 2 worst pass defense. So that means someone like Cody Latimer is a guy that I really like this week. So Cody Latimer definitely at 4,100 should be a guy that you target. Andrew Jamil here at 5,700. You look at his numbers, he has a really big week 1 last week, not so much. Eli Rogers, 3,100. Another name that I kind of think is a sneaky play. But other than that, there's not a lot for the Orlando side. Arlington, same thing. The only one I'm really targeting on Arlington is Sal Cannella. Their tight end, 7,100. Last week against Houston, 4 for 38, but you get a team like Vegas, 7 for 70. So definitely looking at Cannella. Now, we could see, this could be completely different. We could see Arlington be efficient passing the ball with Slaughter as the quarterback. So maybe Cannella doesn't get as much consistency there with a quarterback change. Maybe his volume is even better. We will see, but I like the matchup there for him. On the San Antonio side, Elias Mack at 3,400 is definitely someone that I'm targeting for the San Antonio side, tight end. I don't really love this as a whole, but he's the one guy from San Antonio. Tolliver maybe, but it looks like he might not play. Even if he does, it's going to be a banged up injury. So Mack had a really good connection last week. So Mack at 3,400 is another guy. And then Houston is where you pay up. You get Burnett at 91. John Trey Kirkland, 7,700. I really like him this week. One of the guys I'm probably going to have the most exposure to in the slate is Kirkland at 7,700. If he falls off and this is his bad week, then so be it. But 9.6, 18.1, going to be a really good game. Going to be Burnett and Kirkland, if I had to guess, being the two pass catchers. Defense, I like the DC Defenders here at home, 4,400. The Roughnecks, 5,000 against San Antonio. I know it's a bit risky, but Houston might give up yards, but they don't give up a whole lot of points. As you can see in their 2 games, 14 and 12, going against, we could say, 2 of the more poor offenses, but 12 sacks, 5 interceptions, 2 fumbles. Like, this defense is something special. In DC, and it's still very hard for anybody to really judge that Vegas game just because of the weather. But even against Seattle, one of the more movement offenses, I could say. They move the ball quite a bit, and Ben DiNucci looked good at times, but that Seattle offense can also look very garbage at times, turning over the ball, stuff like that. They get that touchdown against Seattle, but 5 sacks, 2 fumbles, 2 picks so far in the year for DC, and they're facing a team that, if Hill is out, they have not been very efficient running the ball. Their pass game has been very sketchy, and I like DC's secondary. Other than that, there's not a lot. The Guardians maybe is a sneak play, and this is why, really quick. Just going over it, Arlington, the worst offense in the league so far, and if we look at the numbers of why, it's over 60 yards. They're that bad. They're bad. Sorry. Sacks allowed. 8 sacks allowed so far. 36 points scored by this team. But if you look here, only 2 have come from offense. So That's why I kind of think the Guardians can be a sneak play. I'm not suggesting playing them a lot, but if you want to get a sneaky defense in there, definitely Orlando's defense. So kind of go over just a quick example of something that I would like. So I like Silvers here. Mentioned some of the running backs. I really like Devon Smith, and I can run it back and get Borghi in there as well if I really wanted to. Wide receivers, we like Canella a lot. We go down here. We like Proel, and then last but not least, and you can go different ways. I don't know if I really want to run two running backs, but I want to get Latimer. I didn't get Kirkland in here, which is someone that I really wanted, and I have 2 Arlington players against Orlando, so that's also something. But then we could pay up, and you have money left over. The one question that I continue to get, guys, and I don't think it's a bad question at all, because we're so used to every other sports DFS of being to where you want to have $0. You want to pay up as much as you can for as much talent. It's just DraftKings does not have the pricing right yet for players. It's a new league. You don't want to screw things up and misprice players. And unfortunately, some of the guys are mispriced for a good reason. You get $7,100 per average player. The defense itself, even if you pay for Houston, gives you $400 more. So anybody that's $7,500 or less, like Canella, I really like here. We keep going down. Hakeem Butler, another name you like. Proel, another name. Latimer. Like, all these guys just make you save money. Like, you can almost pretty much pay up. But the line I showed is a good example of a line that I would play tomorrow. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. I know I've got a lot of support so far in the XFL content, so I really do appreciate that. It means a lot seeing all the support coming for a new sport and me trying to just get some information out there. I'm not the greatest at this. I'm not the most in-depth. I just try to find as much information I can and spread it to you guys so that you guys can come back and know that, hey, this guy knows something that some might not. So if you do enjoy it, please leave a like. If you aren't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I will try to have content going out at least on the game days. I will try to have that video in a first look to kind of go over the prices and the matchups and stuff like that. Betting wise, guys, today, the only bet that I have so far is Orlando plus 8.5. It was plus 9.5 on some books. But in order for me to give it out to some people, it was at 8.5. If you got it at 9.5 or 9, congrats. You got an extra point. If you get it at 8.5, like I did, I still like 8.5. Arlington's offense has not performed. If Slaughter goes in there and slings the ball and their defense does what they do and carry them, and Orlando does what they've done, and they're not able to score, and their defense looks very sloppy, then yes, Orlando is going to get blown out. But I just haven't seen enough yet to where I can say that Arlington has the highest spread and can cover that yet. So that's the only bet that I have fully confidence in. The other one that I'm looking at right now is DC. I think it's down to minus 2.5. I do like Houston as a money line bet if you're putting it in a parlay with something. But as far as the spread there, it's another game I'm not fully confident. It's the same thing with the Sea Dragons. Some people got it at minus 4 and you got to push. I more just like the over in that game, and the over did hit. So yet again, thank you guys, and I will see you in the next one.